Welcome to Prod School. We're back with another deep dive into product manager interviews. And today we're tackling one of the most challenging question types you'll face, product design questions. After analyzing hundreds of PM interviews across Meta, Google, and Microsoft, we've identified the systematic approach that consistently gets candidates hired. Today, we're going to show you this framework in action with a real product design challenge. Product design questions make up roughly 30% of PM interviews and come in several variations. First, pure design questions like design an app for job seekers to match with employers. Second, improvement questions like improve product X, which we actually covered in our Spotify video last week. Third, audience-specific design like design a vending machine for the blind. And fourth, moonshot problems, which are notoriously known in the industry as Google's favorite, like design X, assuming you have infinite resources. Each type requires the same systematic approach, just with different constraints. Here's why most candidates struggle with these questions. They hear design a product for teenagers and immediately jump into features and solutions. They start brainstorming social media apps, gaming platforms, or whatever trendy technology comes to mind. But that's exactly the wrong approach, and it's why 70% of candidates fail these questions. What interviewers are actually testing is your structured thinking process. Can you break down an ambiguous problem into manageable components? Can you identify real user needs versus imaginary ones? Can you prioritize features and make strategic trade-offs? Most importantly, can you think like a business leader who understands both user value and company objectives? Now, before we dive into today's interview, I want you to do something that will 10x the value you get from this video. Pause right here, grab a pen and paper, and I'm going to give you the exact same question our candidate faces today. Here it is. Design a product for teenagers. You're interviewing at Instagram with a senior director of product. You have Meta's full resources available. That's it. I want you to spend the next 2-3 minutes writing down your initial approach. What clarifying questions would you ask? How would you structure your thinking? What's your gut instinct about what to build? Don't overthink it, just write down your natural response. Ready? Good. Keep that paper handy because you're about to see exactly how your approach compares to what actually works at Meta. Today's interview features Sarah, a senior PM candidate, facing off against Alan, a senior director at Instagram. What you're about to see will shock you. When Sarah gets the same question you just tackled, she doesn't immediately start designing anything. Compare her first 3 clarifying questions to what you wrote down. I guarantee they're different, and that difference is worth thousands in salary. Sarah identifies an $8.2 billion market opportunity that most candidates might miss. She doesn't just talk about connecting teens or entertaining them. She discovers a fundamental gap and shows exactly how Meta can capture this market while solving their regulatory challenges. I need to warn you about something. This interview is intense. Sarah faces aggressive questioning that separates senior PM candidates from junior ones. Alan challenges her on competitive threats from TikTok and YouTube, pushes her on resource allocation decisions, and demands she justify why Meta should prioritize this over improving Instagram Reels. Before we dive in, grab that free product design framework template in the description. And seriously, hit that subscribe button. We're building the most comprehensive PM interview series on YouTube, and there's much more coming your way with Prod School. We're launching our exclusive community and AI interviewer capabilities that will let you practice these exact scenarios with personalized feedback. The waitlist opens very soon, so make sure you're subscribed to get early access. Here's how to get maximum value. Watch it 3 times. First time, just observe. Second time, pause at major decision points and practice your own responses. Third time, focus on how Sarah handles pressure. Keep that paper from your initial approach. At the end, write down 3 specific things you would do differently based on what you learned from Sarah. That comparison will show you exactly where to focus your interview prep. All right, let's see theory meet practice. Over to the interview. Let's get started.
Today we're going to work through a product design challenge. I'm Alan, Senior Director of Product here at Instagram. The question is, design a product for teenagers. This is intentionally broad. I want to see how you approach open-ended product challenges as a senior PM. Take your time to ask clarifying questions and work through your thinking systematically.
Thank you, Alan. I appreciate the context. This is definitely a broad question, so let me take a moment to think about how I want to approach this systematically. First, are we designing this product for Instagram specifically, Meta as a whole, or should I approach this as if we're a startup with no existing infrastructure? Understanding resource availability and platform constraints will significantly shape my approach.
For this exercise, assume you have the full resources and infrastructure of Meta as our parent company. You can leverage Instagram, WhatsApp, Facebook, our AI capabilities, our safety frameworks, essentially everything in Meta's ecosystem. How does that change your thinking?
That's incredibly valuable context. Having Meta's resources means I can think about cross-platform integration, leverage existing safety systems, tap into our AI and content moderation capabilities, and build on proven infrastructure rather than starting from scratch. It also means I should consider how this fits into Meta's broader strategic objectives. My next clarifying question, when we say teenagers, that's quite a broad demographic. I'm thinking about different subsegments. Are you looking for me to pick a specific age range, or should I address the entire 13 to 19 spectrum?
I'd like you to pick a specific segment and explain your reasoning. But before you do that, tell me, why does the age range matter so much? Aren't teenagers just teenagers?
That's a really good question. Let me think about this for a moment. Actually, there are significant differences within the teen demographic that impact product design decisions. A 13-year-old and an 18-year-old have vastly different cognitive development, independence levels, regulatory constraints, and use cases. For example, a 13-year-old needs parental consent for most activities and has limited spending power, while an 18-year-old can enter contracts and often has part-time income. I'd like to focus on the 16 to 19 age segment, specifically late high school to early college years. Here's my reasoning. This group has more autonomy than younger teens. They're starting to think seriously about their futures and careers. They often have more disposable income or earning potential, and they're at a transition point where they're developing independence, but still need guidance and community. This segment is also less regulated than younger teens. We have more flexibility in terms of features, monetization, and user agency.
Interesting choice. But isn't 16 to 19 getting pretty close to our existing core Instagram demographic? Why wouldn't we just improve our current offerings rather than build something new?
That's a fair challenge, and honestly, you're right that there's overlap. Let me think through this. I believe there's a gap between what Instagram currently offers, which is primarily entertainment and social validation, and what this age group increasingly needs, practical skill development, economic opportunity, and purpose-driven connections. Instagram is excellent for passive consumption and broad social networking, but there's an underserved need for active skill building and peer-to-peer learning that could complement, not compete, with our core Instagram experience.
All right, what other context would be helpful for you?
Perfect. One final set of clarifying questions. Are there any specific constraints I should consider? Budget, timeline, regulatory considerations? I'm particularly thinking about regulatory constraints since we're still dealing with minors, even in the 16 to 19 range. Things like data privacy, parental consent requirements, payment processing limitations, and content safety standards. I imagine those will be significant factors in whatever we design.
You're right about regulatory constraints. Those will be significant. We'll need to navigate COPPA compliance, payment regulations for minors, content safety standards, and various international regulations. Assume we have our legal and policy teams to help, but don't ignore these challenges. No specific budget or timeline constraints for this exercise.
Perfect. Let me take a minute to structure my thoughts on how I want to approach this systematically. First, I want to ground this in Meta's mission and strategic priorities. Meta's core mission is to bring the world closer together through meaningful connections. For the 16 to 19 demographic specifically, Meta has been investing heavily in safety initiatives, creator economy tools, and positive engagement, especially after realizing that passive consumption isn't always healthy for this demographic. My approach will be 1. identify and quantify the key problems this demographic faces. 2. Evaluate which problems align best with Meta's capabilities and strategic objectives. 3. Prioritize based on market size, impact potential, and competitive advantage. Then move into solution design.
All right, let's hear the problems. But I want specifics. Don't just tell me teens have problems. Tell me how big these problems are and why Meta should care.
Sure, let me think through the major problem areas I've observed. I've identified 3 major problem areas for the 16 to 19 demographic. Problem 1 is economic empowerment gap. The data here is striking. More than half the teens aged 16 to 19 want to earn money, but face significant barriers. Traditional part-time employment has dropped significantly for teens since 2000 due to automation and age restrictions. Meanwhile, the gig economy requires resources most teens don't have. Cars for delivery, professional equipment, established networks. The addressable market is roughly 16 million teens in the US alone, and globally, this scales to about 300 million teens who want earning opportunities but lack accessible pathways. Second issue is practical skill development crisis. Here's what's interesting. 3 out of 4 college freshmen report feeling unprepared for basic life skills like budgeting, cooking, professional communication, or even basic tech skills beyond social media. Traditional education isn't addressing this gap. The supplementary education market for teens is worth $8.2 billion annually, but it's fragmented and expensive. Most importantly, most teens say they'd prefer learning these skills from peers rather than adults. Third, we have purpose-driven connection deficit. While teens are hyper-connected, most do feeling lonely or disconnected in meaningful ways. They want relationships built around shared goals and mutual growth, not just entertainment consumption. The teen mental health crisis, with anxiety and depression rates up 25% in the last 5 years, is partly driven by lack of meaningful peer interaction.
Those numbers are interesting, but so what? Why should Meta prioritize any of these over, say, improving Reels engagement or fixing our TikTok competition problem?
That's the critical strategic question, and honestly, it's something I need to think through carefully. Let me explain why problem 1, the economic empowerment gap, should be our priority. First, market size and longevity. This isn't just a teen problem, it's a pipeline problem. Teens who develop entrepreneurial skills and economic independence become the creators and small business owners who drive Meta's long-term revenue. We're talking about building the next generation of our customer base. Second, competitive differentiation. TikTok and YouTube are fighting us on entertainment, but neither has solved teen economic empowerment with proper safety frameworks. This gives us a clear differentiation angle that plays to our strengths in community building and safety. Third, strategic alignment. Meta is already investing heavily in creator economy tools. This extends that investment to the next generation, creating a natural pipeline from teen skill sharing to adult content creation and business development. Fourth, defensibility. The regulatory complexity of payments and safety for minors creates natural barriers to entry that benefit an established platform like Meta.
But isn't this just creating another marketplace? Don't we have enough marketplace competition already? What makes you think we can win where others haven't?
That's a fair challenge, and I need to think about what makes this different. I think the landscape is different than it appears. Current marketplaces like Fiverr, Upwork, or even Etsy aren't designed for the 16 to 19 demographic. They have fundamental gaps. There are safety and trust issues, as none of them have robust frameworks for minor safety, parental oversight, or age-appropriate dispute resolution. Then, of course, there's payment complexity, since processing payments for minors is legally complex, so most platforms just exclude them rather than solve it. Then there's discovery and matching, as most current platforms rely on search and reviews, but teens discover through social networks and peer recommendations. Our advantage is that we can solve these fundamental gaps by leveraging Meta's existing infrastructure, proven safety systems, social discovery mechanisms, community building tools, and the technical expertise to handle complex payment regulations for minors.
Okay, assuming this problem is worth solving, how do you think about the solution space? Don't just jump to features. Show me your thinking process.
Let me take a step back and think systematically about the solution space before jumping to any specific ideas. I'm considering 4 main solution categories, and I want to evaluate each against 3 criteria: strategic fit with Meta's capabilities, market differentiation potential, and technical feasibility given our constraints. Option 1 is enhanced social platform. Think Instagram with better tools for skill discovery and peer connections. The pros that I can think of is it leverages existing user base and engagement patterns. The one con I can think is this feels incremental and doesn't address the core economic empowerment need. We'd essentially be adding features to Instagram rather than solving the fundamental problem. Option 2 is educational content platform, Meta's version of Khan Academy or Masterclass for teens. The pro is large addressable market, clear monetization. Con for this approach will be that this is content creation and distribution, which is crowded with YouTube, Coursera, and others. It doesn't leverage our core strength in peer-to-peer connections. Option 3 can be something like teen-focused gaming or entertainment, gamified experiences that build skills through play. The advantage with this is high engagement and natural social elements of gaming. The issue is, it kind of doesn't solve the core economic empowerment need, and we'd be competing in an oversaturated market where we don't have differentiated capabilities. Option 4 is peer-to-peer skill exchange marketplace, platform where teens teach and learn practical skills from each other with built-in monetization. The advantage with this is that it addresses economic empowerment directly, leverages Meta's community building strengths, has clear competitive moats through safety and social features.
You're making this sound obvious, but let me push back. Why wouldn't teens just use existing platforms like YouTube for learning and Venmo for payments? What's the fundamental reason they need something new?
That's a really good question. Let me think about what's actually broken in the current experience. I think current solutions are fundamentally broken for this demographic in 3 ways. First is, of course, trust and safety. If you think about it, YouTube tutorials are one way and anonymous. Venmo isn't designed for service transactions and has no dispute resolution. For teens learning valuable skills or earning money, trust and verification are critical. A 16-year-old teaching guitar lessons needs platform credibility, not just social media followers. Second that I can think of is discovery and matching. YouTube requires knowing what to search for. But teens often don't know what skills they need or want to learn. They need social discovery. My friend learned this cool thing, combined with intelligent matching based on interests, location, and skill level. Lastly, there is social learning context. Current platforms are either purely transactional, think Venmo, or purely content-based, for example, YouTube. Teens learn best through interactive, social experiences with peers. They want the guitar teacher to also become a friend, and the cooking student to join a community of food enthusiasts.
Interesting, but here's my concern. You're essentially describing a two-sided marketplace. Those are notoriously difficult to bootstrap. How do you solve the chicken and egg problem? Why wouldn't this just fail like every other attempt at teen-focused marketplaces?
You're absolutely right about marketplace dynamics being challenging, and honestly, this is where most attempts fail. Let me think through our advantages. I think we have several significant advantages that change the bootstrapping equation. The first is existing social graph itself, where, unlike a standalone marketplace, we can leverage existing Instagram friendships and social connections. The first skill exchanges will likely happen between people who already know each other or have mutual connections, which solves the initial trust problem. Second advantage that I can think of is around content to commerce pipeline, where we can start with teens sharing skill-related content on Instagram, cooking videos, art tutorials, study tips, and naturally evolve the most engaging creators into paid skill providers. This gives us an organic way to identify and develop the supply side. Third one could be geographic density. Instead of launching nationally and being thin everywhere, we can launch in specific high schools or colleges where we already have high Instagram penetration. This creates local network effects and word-of-mouth growth. Another one that I can think of is, of course, Meta's platform advantages, where we have built-in discovery through Instagram's algorithm, proven payment infrastructure, and sophisticated safety systems. We're not building a marketplace from scratch. We're extending Meta's existing capabilities into skill exchange.
Fair points, but I'm still not convinced this is a big enough opportunity to warrant significant investment. Walk me through why this becomes a billion-dollar business for Meta rather than just a nice feature that gets moderate usage.
That's the key question, isn't it? Let me think about the scale opportunity here. I can break down the scale opportunity across 3 dimensions. There is user economics. If we capture just 10% of the 16 million US teens aged 16 to 19, that's 1.6 million users. Conservative estimates suggest active skill providers could earn $200 to $500 monthly, with Meta taking a 15 to 20% platform fee. That's $48 to $120 million in annual revenue just from the US teen market. Then there's the expansion potential. This model scales globally and ages up. The teens using this platform become the 20-something entrepreneurs and creators driving Meta's core revenue streams. We're essentially building our future customer pipeline. And lastly, there is significant strategic value, as this positions Meta as the platform for productive peer interaction, not just consumption. That's a powerful defense against regulatory and societal criticism while creating genuine user value that builds long-term loyalty. The business case isn't just the direct marketplace revenue, it's the strategic positioning and user lifetime value we're building for Meta's entire ecosystem.
All right, assuming we move forward with the peer-to-peer skill marketplace concept, how do you think about the current competitive landscape? Who are we really competing against?
Let me take a moment to think through the competitive landscape systematically. The competitive landscape is actually more fragmented than it initially appears, which creates our opportunity. Let me break this down into direct competitors, indirect alternatives, and the fundamental gaps that exist. In terms of direct competitors, I definitely feel they are limited and flawed. There's no major platform specifically designed for teen-to-teen skill exchange with integrated payments and safety. Fiverr and Upwork explicitly exclude minors due to payment complexity. Wyzant focuses on academic tutoring but lacks the social and community elements teens want. Then for indirect alternatives, this is where it gets interesting. For monetizing skills, teens currently cobble together solutions, selling art on Instagram DMs with Venmo payments, informal tutoring through word of mouth, creating TikTok content hoping for brand deals, or selling physical items on Depop. All of these have friction, payment complexity, limited discovery, no safety frameworks. For learning practical skills, they're using YouTube tutorials, asking family members, taking expensive in-person classes, or just trial and error. The gaps are massive. No interaction, no personalization, no community, no verification of skill acquisition.
But wait, if Instagram DMs plus Venmo works for some teams, why do we need to build something new? Couldn't we just make it easier to do commerce through Instagram directly?
That's a smart question, and honestly, some teens are making that work today. But there are 2 fundamental limitations that create our opportunity. First is obviously scale, as Instagram DMs with Venmo only works for teens who already know each other or have mutual friends. It doesn't scale to skill discovery beyond your immediate network. Plus, there's no safety framework, no dispute resolution, no verification, no parental oversight. And second, if, of course, the whole professional versus social context piece. When you're paying someone to teach you a skill, you want a different interaction model than social media. You need scheduling, progress tracking, structured learning paths, and professional communication tools. Also, Instagram is optimized for content virality, not skill transfer. A teen who's great at teaching guitar might be terrible at creating engaging Instagram content. We're solving for different success metrics.
Okay, but let's talk about the 800-pound gorilla in the room, YouTube. They have billions of tutorial videos. They have creator monetization. They have community features. Why wouldn't they just add peer-to-peer booking and kill this idea before we even launch?
YouTube is definitely a formidable indirect competitor, but I think there are structural constraints why they'd struggle to execute this effectively. There is business model conflict since YouTube's revenue comes from ads and premium subscriptions tied to content consumption. Peer-to-peer skill exchange would cannibalize watch time and ad revenue. It's a classic innovator's dilemma. Then, the platform architecture itself, since YouTube is built for content publishing and consumption, not real-time interaction and service delivery, Adding booking, payments, and live instruction would require fundamental platform changes. Also, YouTube's network effects are based on content creation and audience building. Skill-sharing network effects are different. They're based on trust, local connections, and service quality.
Fair points. But what about TikTok? They're already winning with teens, they have live features, they're experimenting with commerce. Couldn't they pivot into this space faster than we could build it?
TikTok is probably our biggest competitive threat long-term, but they have their own constraints, like increased scrutiny around data privacy and teen safety. Adding financial transactions for minors would increase regulatory pressure significantly. Also, TikTok's algorithm optimizes for short-form, dopamine-driven content. Skill development requires sustained attention and deeper engagement, almost the opposite of TikTok's core mechanics. Trust and safety infrastructure is also a concern for them. So is geographic strategy. I definitely feel TikTok's strength is global viral content. Skill sharing often starts locally. Tutoring someone in your school, learning to cook from someone in your neighborhood. Meta's local graph and Instagram's location features give us advantages here. At the same time, when I think about our strategic advantages, there's the real competitive moat that comes from combining Meta's existing assets, proven teen safety systems, local social graphs, payment infrastructure, and community building tools. Competitors would need to build all of these capabilities simultaneously, while we can integrate and extend what already works. So yes, I do think we are at a great place to tackle this. Now, before moving ahead, let me quickly summarize where we are. We started with the broad question of design a product for teenagers. Through systematic analysis, we identified that the 16 to 19 demographic faces a significant economic empowerment gap. They want to earn money, but lack accessible pathways. We've determined that a peer-to-peer skill exchange marketplace addresses this need while leveraging Meta's unique capabilities and creating defensible competitive advantages. The alternative solutions are fragmented and have fundamental gaps in safety, discovery, and teen-appropriate design. So our solution is a peer-to-peer skill marketplace integrated into Meta's ecosystem that allows teens aged 16 to 19 to safely teach and learn practical skills from each other while earning money and building meaningful connections.
Good summary. Now let's get practical. How does this actually align with Meta's current strategy and priorities? Because building new products is expensive and risky, and I need to understand why Meta leadership would prioritize this over other initiatives.
Let me take a minute to think about how this fits into Meta's broader strategic picture. This aligns perfectly with Meta's current strategic priorities, and I see 4 key ways this fits into what Meta is already doing. First, Meta is investing billions in teen safety initiatives following congressional hearings and regulatory pressure. This platform would showcase Meta's commitment to positive teen experiences. We're not just removing harmful content anymore. We're actively creating productive, skill-building opportunities. It's a powerful narrative shift from Meta enables teen problems to Meta empowers teen success. Second, Meta is heavily investing in creator monetization tools across Instagram and Facebook. This extends that investment to the next generation, building the pipeline of future creators while they're still developing their skills. A teen who learns video editing through our platform could become a professional Instagram creator by college. Third, this directly addresses criticism about passive consumption. Instead of teens scrolling Instagram for hours, they're actively teaching and learning skills. It transforms Meta from an entertainment platform to a development platform.
Those sound like nice strategic talking points, but let me challenge you on execution reality. Meta has struggled with new product launches. Look at Threads, look at Horizon. Why wouldn't this just become another expensive experiment that gets shut down in 2 years?
That's a fair concern. And honestly, you're right. Meta's track record on standalone products is mixed. I think this has fundamentally different success dynamics than Threads or Horizon for several reasons. Unlike Horizon's hardware dependency or Threads' need to compete with Twitter's network effects, this leverages existing Meta infrastructure. We're not building new technology, we're combining proven components in a new way. The technical risk is much lower. More importantly,
Product market fit will be measurable quickly through transaction volume and completion rates. Unlike social networks where engagement can be artificially inflated, marketplace metrics are harder to fake. Either teens are paying for skills or they're not. And even if the standalone marketplace doesn't scale, the core features can be integrated into Instagram. Skills discovery could become part of Instagram search. Pure monetization could enhance creator tools. There's a natural fallback strategy that Threads and Horizon didn't have.
Okay, but let's talk resources. This would require dedicated engineering teams, new payment systems for minors, enhanced safety moderation, partnership with schools potentially. That's a significant investment. How do you justify the opportunity cost versus improving our core Instagram or WhatsApp products?
You're absolutely right about the resource requirements, and that's something I need to think through carefully. Let me frame the opportunity cost differently. Our core Instagram teen engagement is under threat from TikTok and newer platforms. This creates a new engagement category where we can't be easily copied. The teens using this platform will have higher lifetime value and stronger platform lock-in than those just consuming content. But more strategically, this isn't just about direct marketplace revenue. It's about expanding Meta's platform definition from social networking to skill development and economic empowerment. That's a much larger addressable market and a more defensible position long-term. The investment in teen safety and positive outcomes here also provides cover for our core products. When regulators question Instagram's impact on teens, we can point to concrete economic and educational benefits we're creating. And we can start small and scale incrementally. Launch in 5 to 10 schools, measure unit economics, expand geographically. The investment scales with proven demand rather than requiring massive upfront commitment like some of our other bets.
Okay, let's assume Meta leadership buys into this strategic vision. How do you actually think about user segmentation and go-to-market? Don't just tell me about teenage segments. Show me you understand how to actually reach and convert users in a realistic way.
Absolutely. Let me take a moment to think about how I'd approach user segmentation and go-to-market in a way that's actually executable. When I think about the 16 to 19 demographic for skill sharing, I'm not just looking at age brackets. I'm segmenting based on behavioral patterns and economic motivations that will determine platform adoption and engagement. Primary segment, economic opportunists, ages 16 to 18. These are teens who already have some income-generating activity, even if informal. They're tutoring friends, selling art on Instagram, or doing odd jobs. Key insight is that they understand the value of their time and skills, but are frustrated by current monetization options. They're price-conscious, but willing to pay platform fees for convenience and safety. Most importantly, they're early adopters who will evangelize to friends if we get the experience right. Secondary segment, skill-hungry learners, ages 17 to 19. These teens are actively seeking practical skills for college prep or early career development. They're already spending money on learning, whether it's SAT prep, cooking classes, or online courses. The difference is they want peer interaction and social validation, not just content consumption. They value authenticity over polish, which gives peer instructors an advantage over professional courses.
That's interesting segmentation, but how do you actually reach these users? Meta's had mixed success with teen acquisition lately, especially competing with TikTok. What's your realistic go-to-market strategy?
You're right to push on acquisition strategy, and honestly, this is where I need to think differently than traditional Meta acquisition tactics. Traditional Meta acquisition tactics won't work here because we're not competing for attention. We're competing for intent and behavior change. My approach would be supply-side focused initially. Instead of trying to acquire both sides simultaneously, I'd start with the economic opportunists who already have skills and motivation to earn. Here's why this matters. Once we have quality skill providers, learner acquisition becomes much easier through word of mouth and social proof. For initial supply acquisition, I'd partner with specific high schools that already have strong entrepreneurship or maker programs. Think STEM magnet schools, arts academies, vocational programs. These students already have developed skills, and teacher endorsement gives us credibility. We could start with just 5 schools and create dense local networks before expanding. The key insight is that skill sharing spreads geographically and socially. A teen who learns guitar from someone at their school tells their friends. Those friends want to learn from the same person because there's existing social proof and trust.
But that sounds like a very slow growth strategy. How do you scale that beyond local networks? And more importantly, how do you prevent this from just becoming another side project that never gets meaningful traction?
That's the critical scaling question. And honestly, this is where most marketplace attempts fail because they try to scale too quickly. My scaling approach has 3 phases. Phase 1 is proving local network effects work. Can we get sustainable marketplace activity within individual schools or communities? If teens in one high school are regularly booking and completing skill sessions with each other, then we know the core value proposition works. Phase 2 is geographic replication. Once we prove the model in 5 schools, we can identify the patterns that drive success and systematically replicate to similar schools. The advantage of the teen demographic is that social networks are largely geographic, so word of mouth spreads naturally to nearby schools. Phase 3 is platform acceleration. This is where Meta's assets become crucial. We can use Instagram's algorithm to surface skill-related content more prominently, integrate skill provider profiles with Instagram creator tools, and use WhatsApp for seamless communication. Essentially, we graduate from standalone acquisition to ecosystem-driven growth. The difference between this and a side project is measurable network effects. We'll know we have a real business when skill providers are earning meaningful money and learners are repeatedly booking sessions. Those are much harder metrics to fake than engagement or downloads.
All right, let's get into the actual product design. Walk me through your MVP, but I want to understand your prioritization logic. Why these features first, and how do you avoid feature bloat?
Great question. My MVP philosophy is simple. Enable the core transaction with minimal viable safety and trust. Everything else is distraction until we prove people will actually pay each other for skills. From the perspective of core transaction features, I am thinking skill discovery through basic category browse and search, location filtering for in-person sessions, video call integration for virtual sessions, simple booking with calendar integration, and a basic messaging system for pre-session coordination. Then there's minimal viable safety, where I'm thinking identity verification for skill providers, think driver's license or school ID verification, parental notification system that alerts parents when minors book or provide sessions, and session recording capability that's opt-in but recommended, especially for virtual sessions. For the payment infrastructure, this is where we leverage Meta's existing capabilities. Integration with Facebook Pay for transaction processing, but with teen-specific safeguards like parental oversight for large transactions and automatic escrow until session completion. Lastly, there's Community Foundation, where we will have a basic rating and review system, skill provider profiles that can showcase previous sessions and learner feedback, and integration with Instagram for portfolio sharing. What I'm explicitly not building in V1 is sophisticated matching algorithms, group session capabilities, advanced scheduling tools, or detailed progress tracking. Those are all valuable features, but they're optimization, not core value creation.
How do you measure success for this MVP? And more importantly, what are the key metrics that would tell you whether to double down or pivot?
Let me think about this systematically. I'd structure success metrics around 3 key questions. Are we creating real economic value? Are we building sustainable trust? And are we achieving platform-specific network effects? For economic value, I'm tracking total transaction volume, but more importantly, repeat provider earnings and learner spending patterns. If providers are earning at least $100 monthly and learners are booking multiple sessions with the same providers, that indicates real value creation. For trust, safety incident rate is crucial. We need to be below 0.1% of sessions having any safety issues. But I'm also tracking completion rates and rating distributions. High session completion rates and ratings skewed towards 4 to 5 stars indicate that both sides are getting value from the experience. For network effects, I'm looking at booking density within geographic areas and social networks. Are teens booking sessions with people from their school or friend networks? Are skill providers getting bookings from learners they don't already know? If we see consistent growth in stranger-to-stranger transactions, that's when we know we've built something that scales beyond existing social connections. The pivot signals would be low repeat usage despite high initial trial, safety incidents that undermine parent or teen trust, or inability to achieve profitable unit economics even with Meta's infrastructure advantages.
What about longer-term product evolution? How do you see this scaling beyond the initial MVP?
The long-term vision is positioning Meta as the platform where the next generation develops both skills and entrepreneurial mindset. Short-term expansion focuses on feature depth rather than breadth. Group learning sessions for popular skills like cooking or coding, structured learning paths that connect multiple sessions into skill development journeys, and advanced creator tools that help skill providers build their personal brands and expand their earning potential. Medium term is integration with ecosystem, using Meta's VR capabilities for immersive skill sessions. Imagine learning cooking in a virtual kitchen or practicing presentations in virtual conference rooms. Integration with WhatsApp Business for professional communication tools, and leveraging Instagram's creator economy features to help successful skill providers transition to content creation and broader monetization. The key insight is that we're not just building a marketplace, we're building the foundation for how the next generation thinks about learning, earning, and career development. Every teen who successfully earns money through skill sharing becomes more entrepreneurial and more likely to build businesses on Meta's platforms as they get older. We're not just serving current users, we're developing the creators and entrepreneurs that will drive Meta's revenue for the next decade. When a 16-year-old teaches coding to a 14-year-old and both earn money and build confidence in the process, that's exactly the kind of meaningful human connection that Meta's mission is about. And it's the kind of positive impact that regulators, parents, and society actually want from social platforms.
Excellent analysis. Thank you for that thorough walkthrough. I appreciated how you balanced strategic thinking with practical execution.
Incredible walkthrough from Sarah. Before we break down the framework, let me highlight the 5 key takeaways that separate successful candidates from those who struggle with product design questions. First, always start with clarifying questions that reveal your strategic thinking. Notice how Sarah didn't just ask about age ranges, she probed about Meta's resources, regulatory constraints, and business context. She understood that the same question has completely different answers depending on whether you're at a startup or Meta. Second, quantify the problem before jumping to solutions. Sarah identified that 54% of teens want to earn money but lack accessible pathways, and that the supplementary education market is worth $8.2 billion. She didn't just say teens have problems. She proved there's a real business opportunity worth Meta's investment. Remember, you might not have exact statistics in your interview, but using educated estimates shows you think quantitatively about market opportunities. Third, segment ruthlessly and defend your choices. When Alan challenged her on age ranges, Sarah had specific reasoning for focusing on 16 to 19-year-olds, more autonomy, career thinking, earning potential, and fewer regulatory constraints. Most candidates try to serve everyone and end up serving no one. Fourth, think competitively from day one. Sarah didn't just design in a vacuum. She analyzed why existing solutions fail, what advantages Meta has, and how competitors like TikTok and YouTube would struggle to replicate this approach. She built defensible competitive moats into her product strategy. Fifth, always connect user value to business value. Sarah showed how solving teen economic empowerment builds Meta's future creator pipeline, addresses regulatory concerns, and creates a new category of engagement that's harder for competitors to copy. Now, let's extract the systematic framework that made this possible. This is the exact approach we recommend for any product design question, whether you're designing for teenagers, enterprise users, or anyone else. Step 1. Strategic context and constraints. Ask questions that shape your entire approach. What company are we? What resources do we have? What business metrics matter most? Are there regulatory, technical, or timeline constraints? What does success look like from the company's perspective? Sarah's questions about Meta's resources and regulatory constraints completely changed how she approached the problem. Step 2. problem identification, and market opportunity. This is where you prove you think like a business leader, not just a feature factory. Why is this problem worth solving now? What's the market size and growth trajectory? Who are the current players and where are they failing? What unique advantages does our company have? Sarah identified the economic empowerment gap, quantified it at 300 million teens globally, and showed why Meta is uniquely positioned to solve it. Step 3. User segmentation and target selection. Resist the urge to serve everyone. Pick one specific user segment and go deep. Sarah chose 16 to 19-year-olds with clear reasoning about their autonomy, earning potential, and regulatory flexibility. She could have chosen younger teens or college students, but she defended her choice with specific behavioral and business rationale. Step 4. Current state analysis and problem validation. Map the user's current journey and identify where existing solutions fail. Don't just list complaints. Find the gaps between multiple tools, the workarounds users create, and the unmet needs that represent real opportunities. Sarah showed how teens currently cobble together Instagram DMs, Venmo, and word of mouth, creating friction and safety gaps. Step 5. Solution evaluation and strategic positioning. Now you can start designing, but evaluate multiple solution categories first. Sarah considered social platforms, educational content, gaming, and marketplaces before landing on peer-to-peer skill exchange. She showed her reasoning for eliminating alternatives and why her chosen approach leverages Meta's core strengths. Step 6. MVP definition and success metrics. Prove you understand product fundamentals. What's the minimum viable product that delivers core value? How will you measure both user engagement and business impact? Sarah defined specific features for marketplace functionality, safety frameworks, and payment systems. Then outline metrics around transaction volume, safety incidents, and network effects. The framework works because it forces you to think systematically about business context, user needs, competitive positioning, and strategic implementation. It's not about having the right answer. It's about demonstrating structured thinking that leads to defensible product decisions. Remember, product design questions are really testing whether you can think like a senior PM who balances user value with business strategy. Use this framework to structure your approach, but adapt it based on the specific context and constraints of each question. Next week, we're switching gears completely. We'll be diving into a product strategy question that was asked at Reddit. Define Reddit's strategy for the next 5 years. This is a completely different type of challenge that tests your strategic thinking, competitive analysis, and ability to balance multiple stakeholder needs across a complex platform ecosystem. If you found this framework valuable, grab the complete template in the description. It includes every step we covered, plus common mistakes to avoid and example questions to practice with. Hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you don't miss next week's deep dive. We're building the most comprehensive PM interview series on YouTube. And there's much more coming your way with Prod School. We're launching our exclusive community and AI interviewer capabilities that will let you practice these exact scenarios with personalized feedback. The waitlist opens very soon, so make sure you're subscribed to get early access. Thanks for watching, and remember, great product managers aren't born, they're systematically developed. See you next week.